Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Ugly Action Figure Treasures. This week we're going to look at the 1987 and also released 1988 Cobra Law Serpent Leader Golobulus from the GI Joe line. He did first appear in 1987 in the GI Joe movie, and he did not appear in the cartoon or the comic book series. Larry Hama hated the Cobra Law idea and refused to include them. If you like this video, please click like, please subscribe if you like the channel. I appreciate all subscribers. And any comments, please feel free to comment if you have any memories of Golobulus or any future figures or what you just think of the review. Without further ado, let's look at the action figure. And if you were a G.I. Joe fan in the mid-80s, you remember Golobulus as a 3-pack back in 87. They were continued into 1988 release and discontinued for 1989. He was part of a 3-pack with the Nemesis Enforcer and the Royal Guard. The Royal Guard was an army builder, which I wish they would have released all 3 figures on single cards to create the armor builder for the Royal Guard. Why would you have three Golobulus or 3 Nemesis Enforcer or more so? In the movie, Golobulus was voiced by Burgess Meredith. For us Batman fans, he was the Penguin in the 66 series and arguably the finest person to be the Penguin, either in cartoon or live action. So, Golobulus' biggest issue, was that he couldn't stand. His articulation was awful. And that's why he's making this list. Let's see. Let's stand him up by himself. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Remember having the 3-pack as a kid. And I hated this figure. What can you do with a figure like this? You couldn't stand him up. He couldn't do anything. Yeah, great last serpent leader of Cobra Law. And couldn't stand up. Now in the film, he was awesome. Because he had this giant organic pod he would come through where you wouldn't see the serpent body turn near the end of the film. And I wish they would have released him as a deluxe figure. Like a mid-range figure. Like they did with Destro with the spoiler. Or you could have a Golobulus with a plastic pod that just locked, and inside he could bring out the serpent body if you wanted to. If not, they could have put wheels on the pod. Would have made this figure so much better, because right now as it stands, especially in 87 and 88, his articulation sucked. Hasbro, I think Hasbro could care less about the Cobra Law figures at that point. But we still had figures until 93? So, or 94? I stopped around 87. So, when I speak about 93 or 94 with G.I. Joe figures, they're pretty embarrassing by that point. But I'm going to show, when I got this recently in the mail, I got it off eBay, spent less than $10 for it. I'm going to show you after 32 years of this figure existing, I was surprised because I expected to do a video on Golobulus and just trash him. Here's a full 3D view of Golobulus if you've never seen this figure. And he's beautifully used. I got it for less than $10. I like a little dirt on the serpent body. I think he looks cooler this way. He looks like he's been living in the Himalayas. And he's, like the 5 parts said on his body, those are lobsters and crustaceans that have grown onto his body from within Cobra Law. And here's what I discovered. That after 32 years, the rubber of his serpent tail that used to frustrate kids of my age, it may still frustrate you. It bends. You can shape it. This is the basic a phone stand. He's not really relying on it too much except for the hole. I'm going to show you. That's all it's doing. Now imagine if he had a green one or a different colored phone stand than blue. It would blend very well with the figure. Now, a lot of people trash this figure, and yes, very different period. I also understand, though, that we are at the height of sci-fi movies in '86 and '87. Remember, animation films don't just come together in 6 months. So we have like Aliens, and we had films that are trying to be like Aliens. So I get they're trying to go a little more with a sci-fi angle with the G.I. Joe movie. And I don't blame Golobulus or Cobra Law for how awful Serpentor was as a figure. Is Golobulus still a great figure? No. It's still an ugly figure. The articulation still sucks. I would love to see a declassified reimagining of the figure that would come with the pod. It doesn't have to be a big pod. You can even reduce the size of his serpent tail and give him a snap-together pod with wheels, small wheels on the bottom of it, just like he was in the movie. Well, I'd love to see that. We've yet to see another version of Golobulus. Not a bad figure, not a bad idea, interesting concept. But yes, this is my review of Golobulus. I was pleasantly surprised that I could do some of this articulation to where he could stand. Or stand pretty much by himself. Better than he was back in '87 or '88 when he just stood straight and he was boring and nonsense. This concludes my video review of the 1987-1988 G.I. Joe Serpent Leader of Cobra Law Golobulus. I will see you next weekend with a new video for a new ugly action figure treasure. Next one, I believe, going somewhere Marvel related. I'm not going to give any more hints away than that. Have a great week.